Hello, hello. Welcome back to my channel, everybody. I hope you're doing well. I have been feeling super inspired this month, and I've also got a lot of stuff to cover, so here we are again with another gaming video. If this is your first time stopping by my channel, my name is Bree, or Margabrita. I stream over on Twitch most of the time, but I am also trying to be a little bit better about posting content on YouTube, and that's why you're seeing this video here. I am a queer, disabled, chubby, black Latina, and I love to play all kinds of games, but especially cozy indie games, and even more so the kind of cozy indie games that seem like they're just cozy or wholesome or even just chill and casual, but they rip your heart to shreds and make you cry, or they are very unsettling and a little weird, and maybe a combination of all of that. Those are my favorite types of games. So if you're into that, please make sure you check out my channel below. I will link all my socials. Follow me over on Twitch. Make sure you subscribe here on YouTube so that you can keep up with my uploads. There's also a bell notification button that will send you push notifications in your way of choosing, and it would mean a lot if you kept sticking around and hanging out with us here. So this is going to be my very first video in the Steam Choose Wisely Festival series. It started on the 8th and is running through the 15th, and it is this huge event that is just celebrating all kinds of narrative games. I was put on a featured content creator list where game developers could reach out to people on that list and promote their game, see if people are interested enough to promote it in some way. And so this is going to be our first one of what's hopefully a pretty substantial series. Today's game is called Imperial Grace. It is a visual novel about romance, medieval intrigue, and political strategy. Will you rule with your head or your heart? Ooh. So here's what drew me to this game in the first place. I love visual novels, first and foremost, and the game developer reached out to me to see if I would be interested in playing this one. It's a queer visual novel, first of all. It's focusing on politics and romance in an imaginary medieval world. As the new Empress of Calidia, your choices will determine your future and your kingdoms, so rule wisely. You become an Empress, which I think is super cool. I know that there's a lot of medieval games out there, and I feel like you don't see a lot that have a woman managing the kingdom. So I thought that was really, really cool. You play as a strong and ambitious woman holding an entire country in the palm of your hand. There are quite a few options in customization. Actually, I was pleasantly surprised. There are a few skin tone choices, but even just with those few, I feel like it's among a decent range. But I, as a light skin biracial, will not give the final word on that. Plus, people have different opinions, you know? There's lots of cool hairstyles, there's some customization options for the outfits you wear, and I think the demo itself gave a pretty cool look into the customization aspect. I really loved the Empress that I made. You can find love fall under the charm of the three love interests and their flamboyant personalities, and discover the kingdom of Calidia through colorful and well-developed secondary characters. I'm not going to go into the three love interests right now, but I think you'll be able to see them throughout the video, and it's pretty obvious which one I prefer. Rule over Calidia. Guide your subjects by addressing their petitions and navigate the crises unsettling your realm. It's up to you to tackle the many dilemmas that will change the history of Calidia, for better or for worse. So you actually do get to play as an empress. It's not just holding it by title. There are things that you have to do in your daily gameplay. Your choices affect your empire, and I thought that was really fun. Something that I've never done specifically in a game, so I thought that was really cool. And each choice that you make will cost specific resources. And I think a really cool option in this game, or like a really cool feature, is that you can choose between two different ways to manage your resources. So you can play with infinite resources, which is how I played this demo, or you can play and make it a little more intense, maybe a little more realistic, by having resource management, which means that you have a finite amount of every single resource and you have to be really mindful of where you spend them. And I decided to play the demo with infinite resources just so I could really focus on the story, and because I feel like that is a really appealing part of the game. And I think a lot of the people that are in my community or watch my stuff may not necessarily be into the management aspect of the resources. So I did end up playing with infinite resources. I thought that was a really enjoyable way to play, and I'm excited to try the resource management, hopefully in an updated demo or even in the full game, because I think that's something that would make it really fun for me personally. But yeah, overall, I had a really good time playing this game. The demo was really fun, and I really hope you enjoy it. Please, please, please make sure you go to the Steam page, wishlist the game. Putting the game on your wish list, it puts it out there to the algorithm. It lets people know that people are interested, that other people are interested in these developers' games. And as indie developers, any kind of engagement, any kind of promotion is super helpful. So yeah, thank you again to the developers of this game for reaching out to me about Imperial Grace. And I think that's all I have to say about the game. I wanted to do this introduction and yap about the game so that I'm not yapping over the actual gameplay. And I think that's all I got. So with that, let's get into the game. Here's Imperial Grace. And I was very kindly reached out to by the developers of this game, Imperial Grace. It is described as a medieval romance visual novel. You play as an empress, and you have to rule your country and survive plots and shenanigans with the help of your hot advisors. The game is queer-friendly, has a mature tone, an optional resources management feature. I love that it's optional, and a semi-customizable main character who uses she/her pronouns. So yeah, I'm excited about this one. It looks right up my alley. I love gay things. I love medieval romance. I love visual novels, and I'm excited. It looks really fun. I wonder who I'm gonna choose. I wonder. All right, let's start a new game. This game is intended for a mature audience. It contains many things that can offend the sensitivity of younger players. The complete list of trigger warnings is available in our store page. Okay, love that. Let me see what those trigger warnings are, because I actually have the Steam page open. It tackles several forms of fantasy violence common in medieval times: assassination, disease, war, sexism, etc. So, let's get into it. You are going to play a demo version of the game, thus the content might be subject to change and some features may be missing, such as the diplomacy feature. This demo is like 2 to 3 hours long, so we're going to be here for a while. Show me some tips. 1. Click anywhere on the screen to progress in the story. 2. Use your mouse wheel to go back even after a choice. 3. You can fasten the text display in settings. 4. Several accessibility features are available in the options for your gaming comfort, especially if you are dyslexic, photosensitive, or epileptic, so don't hesitate to check the corresponding functions. 5. You can check your resources from the extra menu at any time. 6, have fun. Yay. Let's do story mode. You will have infinite resources. I don't know that I'm very interested in the resource management part right now. First name, Lydia. What do I name her? What's a medieval female name? I spelled medieval wrong. Medieval female names. Ooh. I have a candle lit. It smells like apples and cinnamon. It's so incredible. It is gorgeous. I am going to name her I'm gonna name her Genevieve. Genevieve. I think that's a beautiful name, Genevieve. Okay, so it looks like we can choose almost like a class, I'm guessing, if y'all are familiar with Baldur's Gate, that kind of stuff. So the first one is Blessed by Basan. You have loved fighting since you were a child. Although you are not allowed on the battlefield, you are in excellent physical shape and your swordsmanship rivals that of a man. And you have a starting bonus in army. Interesting. I don't think I'm very intrigued by that one. Blessed by Amatera. When you were younger, you almost became a scholar. Your love of reading and learning has given you knowledge in many fields, including astronomy, theology, and botany. Starting bonus in religion. Blessed by Horel. You have mastered the art of diplomacy and eloquence. You can improvise inspiring speeches in an instant, and you know the first names of every noble over 3 generations. Starting bonus in influence. Blessed by Myriad. Numbers and resources management hold no secrets for you, and you have excellent relations with merchants, are good at mental arithmetic, and know all the subtleties of tithes and other taxes, not only from Calidia, but also from your neighbors. Starting bonus and money. I am between Amatera and Horel. I think I'm leaning towards Horel, so we'll go there. Skin. Okay, so there aren't a ton of options, but it seems like the range isn't horrible, I will say. So you can have light, tan, medium, or deep. I think I'm gonna go with medium. You can also give her freckles. The freckles are cute, actually. You can give her a beauty mark. I like the freckles and these beauty marks. Okay. We will also do the hairstyle. The hair type, contrary to the hairstyle, cannot be modified during the game and will be taken into account during illustrations. I understand. We can do straight, wavy. Oh, I see. So there are different hairstyles for all of the hair types. Okay. I doubt I'm gonna go for the straight hair. I tend to prefer wavy hair at the very least. Oh, that's pretty. Pretty. Okay. Let's try curly hair. Oh, that's gorgeous. Ooh, I like that one. And then there's also a dreads option, which I think is really cool. Pretty. Okay, we're gonna go for this curly hairstyle, I think. Or do I want the wavy hair? No, I think I want the curly hairstyle. I think I want this one. Okay, now eyes. Heterochromia, heterophobia. Ooh, there's a color wheel. Okay, okay. You can insert a color. I love that. I adore that. Okay. I think like one light purple eye would be really cool. And then the right eye, let's make it a little darker. Let's do a dark green one. Yes, I like that. That's pretty. I think she's gorgeous. Okay, confirm. Customizations on this screen will not be reflected in the illustrations. The match option adapts your outfit to the illustration, not the other way around. To change your outfit during the game, click on Extra and then Outfit. I understand. So at night, yeah, I think having hair down at night makes the most sense. Hairstyle, outfit. Oh, that's pretty. I like this nightgown. And then jewelry. Oh, we can't choose jewelry. Okay, confirm. And we'll do casual. Wait, what is the other one? Oh, formal, formal. Okay. Do that for casual. I may change the hairstyle for casual, but we'll see. Outfit. Ooh. That's casual. Nice. I like this one. I love the detail on this, on the bodice and on the sleeves. Gorgeous. Oh, there's a couple more. That's pretty. Oh, that is beautiful. Wow. Oh wait, I love this one too. That's a lot of white though. That's the only thing. And I want it to be broken up a little bit. Okay, I'm sticking with this one. And then for jewelry, necklaces. Necklaces, I think we'll do that one. No, this one. Would it look better if I did a more casual hairstyle? Like this? Oh, that one has a braid. Oh, I see. I was like, what's different about that one and this one? This one has a braid. I actually think I'll keep this one for the casual. And then formal. Okay. I am leaning towards one of these with the hair accessories. Ah. I like this one for formal, I think. And for jewelry, we will I think we'll go for that. No necklace. Oh wait, wait, wait. Can't I use a crown? Oh, I need to be coronated. I see. Switch outfit to match the illustration. Oh, no, no, no. I don't want it to match the illustration, no. I want to keep these ones. Prologue. Your Grace! Your Grace! A panicked voice resonated in my dream like an echo. A few moments before I understood that it came from somewhere else, I woke up with a jolt, disoriented. I'm gonna try and do some voices, but we'll see. Let me eat this potato salad. Hold on. I am recording this the day before Turkey Day. It is November 26th. My mom made potato salad, so I'm eating it. This is my last bite, though. We look so beautiful, by the way. The palpable feeling of urgency had immediately brought me to my senses, but it still took me a few seconds to recognize the advisor's voice, as well as the room I was in. Genevieve de Terrenfell. Alden, what's going on? Your Highness, I bring terrible news. Oh, that's kind of sexy. Your father was assassinated last night. I was ready to hear just about anything. Managing crises was an important part of royalty after all, and yet I was completely stunned by the news. My father was dead, at the hands of an assassin, just a few rooms away from me. All the implications from this revelation bounced through my head, drenched in doubt and fear concerning my own security and the future of the realm of Calidia. Alexander, I beg your pardon, Your Highness. I was too late. Pulling myself out of my lethargy, I looked down on Alexander, who knelt next to the bed, his head bent low, as if the weight of his shame stopped him from getting up. Oh, sultry eyes, I see. Whatever went down, I knew he had nothing to be ashamed of. When I was just a child, I already admired his talents, and they grew steadfast with age and the position of general. His presence here was a relief. I didn't know the assassin's full intentions, but even if they were after me, as long as Alexander was by my side, I didn't have anything to worry about. Don't put yourself down like this. You aren't responsible for what happened. We'll bring the regicide to justice. Still mortified, Alexander stayed on his knees. I could see his fingers twitch a little, proof he wasn't completely convinced, but he nodded his approval all the same, transported by the firmness of my voice. As for me, now that I had said it out loud, I felt that the information had settled in my mind, and I finally accepted it as truth with a full understanding of the situation. My father, Magnus V, Emperor of Calidia, was dead. Many would have broken down after hearing such news, but for years now, I hadn't held an ounce of affection for him. His death was actually good news to me. It marked the beginning of a new era, a better one, I hoped. An era for which I'd been preparing ever since I realized that this was my destiny. She said, good riddance. I was to succeed him. I was to become the Empress. But it wasn't yet time for celebration. Although I was the legitimate heir to the throne, I had plenty of detractors, and I still needed to figure out why the assassination had taken place. I had many questions about the killer's identity and motivations. I was lost in thought, and it took me a while to realize that Alden and Alexander were staring at me, worried, surely awaiting a reaction or a declaration from me. Both had known me since my early childhood. They knew the enmity I felt for the Emperor, and I trusted them enough to set all pretenses aside. But it was perhaps a bit inappropriate to rejoice over my future title while my father's dead corpse was still warm. Please, she's so silly. After taking a deep breath, I threw off my covers and got up, eyeing them. Is this guy on the right a romanceable character? Because I am eyeing him over the other guy on the left. I'm sorry. Like, he's so sexy. I can't. Wow. Okay. I am going to stay neutral. Gloating seemed a tad indecent, but I could at least spare myself the pretense of being the grieving orphan that I would surely need to be in front of the court. What I feel isn't important. You don't have to worry about me. What matters most is our nation, and we all know that the sudden death of an emperor is a delicate situation. At the moment, the most important thing is to preserve the kingdom's stability. I'm counting on you to protect and serve me. This won't be an easy task, but I'm sure we can accomplish great things. This time, Alexander got up, putting his hand on his sheath in a dignified and military posture. At your service, Highness. May the four witness my oath. I solemnly swear that I will protect you until my dying breath. Emphatic, he bowed down before lifting his eyes up to me. I smiled and accepted his allegiance with a certain poise, despite my unkempt hair and my nightgown. Marjorie, my tutor, often told me that everything about me showed nobility, that I didn't need any props to act like an empress. Today, I understood what she had meant. Alden, however, didn't seem to share the general's fervor. Forgive me, Your Majesty, for tarnishing your enthusiasm, but there is a very delicate question that I have to ask. Have you had your father killed? His abrupt question threw me off, and I stared at him, wavering between surprise and indignation. How dare you even suggest such a possibility? Alexander, you're going too far, advisor. Alden de Valbleu. Come on, don't be offended. You said it yourself. You've hated your father since the death of your brother. You've always held him responsible for it. Oh, Alden, I need you. And your father dies on the very day of your return to the palace? Whatever your answer is, I'll accept it, but I need to know. I felt anger rise within me at these words, and I walked to the window to breathe some fresh air. After I took a few deep inhales, I finally turned around to face him and gave him my answer in a firm voice. On the one hand, my presence here isn't a coincidence. The Emperor celebrates, or rather was about to celebrate, his birthday in 2 days. Half of the Empire's noblemen are here. It's undeniable that the event presented the perfect opportunity to strike. The palace is swarming with unknown guards and servants. It's much harder to provide security in these circumstances, says Alexander. Genevieve. Exactly. On the other hand, your suspicions are an insult to my intelligence advisor. After a regicide, the heir is always suspected. If I had really wanted to speed up fate, you better believe I would have been smarter about it. Marjorie taught me the rules of the game. I would never risk losing everything in such a foolish way. I know my ascension to the throne will already be difficult because I'm a woman. I'll state it plainly if it can relieve your doubts, but listen closely because I will not repeat myself. No, I did not have my father assassinated. My eyes trained on him. I crossed my arms, almost daring him to contradict me as I kept a lid on my fury. Alden seemed to gauge me for a moment, then nodded in assent and apology. Please, forgive me, Your Grace. As soon as possible, I'll alert the Master of Murmurs, and will launch an investigation to uncover the truth and bring justice to your father. I would have preferred more vivid regrets, but under the circumstances, this was enough, and I felt my anger slowly fade away. I accept your apology. Let's not speak of this again. There are more urgent things to do. The news will, no doubt, make quite a commotion. Alden, you've asked us to swear allegiance to you. I assume you will try to claim your rightful place as heir, Your Grace? I'm gonna say, yes, it's my destiny. I heaved a deep sigh and mustered all my determination to answer him without leaving any doubts as to my intentions. I realized a while ago that this was my destiny. Whether I like it or not, I don't really have a choice, and I'm not one to do things half-heartedly. Alden, I know there aren't many people in the direct line of succession, but if you truly don't want to, I believe one of your bastard brothers would do the trick. Genevieve, you know full well that my cousins would covet the position. This would mean the start of a succession war that would drown the kingdom in fire and blood. Even if by some miracle the nobility came out in favor of one of my half-brothers, there's no guarantee that it would all go well. They know nothing of politics. They'd be nothing more than puppets, or even worse, incompetents. By birth, I have a responsibility to the people of this country, and I don't intend to shirk it. In any case, even if I were to retire to my estate to manage it, I would still be a potential threat to their reign. I'll never be safe, even if I were to completely relinquish my right to the throne. There's no doubt about it. I have to be the next empress. Only time will tell, but I think I am the best possible choice under the circumstances. Alden, I don't doubt that, Your Grace. In fact, I'm rather relieved to see you have already thought about it. Like you said, our country needs stability. We can't get away with a weak-willed monarch on the throne. Alexander, I'm sure you'll be a wonderful empress, Genevieve. His words were barely a whisper, but I was sure of what I heard, and I felt my cheeks redden a little. He seemed embarrassed by his own boldness and blushed more violently than me, while I flashed him a smile to reassure him. It had been years since I had last heard him call me by my name. Even if I had no doubts about my own abilities, it was always refreshing to see the trust he gave me. I cleared my throat and regained my composure so I could give my orders. This would be a long night. Who else knows about the assassination for now? Alexander seemed surprised by my question and frowned a bit while searching his mind. Alexander, when I found the body, I immediately went to warn the advisor, and both of us rushed to see you. The only ones who know about it are the guards who were patrolling with me and your father's personal maid who was passing by. We knew it would be bad to attract attention, so I had her discreetly sent to the dungeon for interrogation. How about the guards who were stationed before my father's door? Both are dead. I also had their corpses taken to the dungeon for examination. I paced the room, lost deep in thought. You've done well. Now we have to keep it all a secret. It's imperative that no one else hears about it. Alden. Alexander. They are silent in shock. Alden. Your Grace. This won't be an easy secret to keep. Genevieve. Obviously. We won't be able to do that forever. I only need a few days, so I can stay ahead of my detractors. Alden looked thoughtful for a few moments, then he nodded. I see. So you want to act before everyone else, which should give you the upper hand. Exactly. Very smart. I have no doubt that some people will want to take advantage of the situation. Even if you are unquestionably the rightful heir, your place will be fought over. But if you don't give them time to react, that could make things a great deal easier. That's what I was thinking too. I'd love it if the situation was more straightforward, but this is a little white lie, and the alternative is the chaos of a wildly disputed succession. Alden nodded and I continued, developing the rest of my plan. In the meantime, pretend that His Majesty is not feeling well and investigate discreetly. Alexander. I see. I'll order my men to stay silent. I'll also ensure that they haven't said a word so far. Alden. About that, it might be wiser to ensure that they can't talk at all. Low-grade staff is known for its gossiping, even the guards. Alexander. My men are trustworthy. They would never disobey. Alden. Would you be willing to bet on that, if it could jeopardize the plans of your new empress, to whom you have only just sworn allegiance? Alexander is gagged. And that maid, can you also guarantee she'll keep quiet? His teeth clenched, his hand gripping the hilt of his sword. Alexander shook his head. The weight of Alden's words had also fallen heavily on my shoulders, and I observed both men while contemplating my next steps. Alden, this decision is yours to make, Your Grace, but I strongly advise you to silence them for good. Because I knew you. Alden was right. The most effective way to ensure someone stayed quiet was to have them killed. However, there could be other alternatives to consider. Such a decision couldn't be taken lightly, because whatever I decided, I couldn't afford to regret it. Oof. Okay. Alright, so I have a couple of options. I have a few options. I have unlimited resources, which is nice. So it looks like in the normal mode where you do have resource management, you have to be mindful of the resources you have because it costs a certain amount of them depending on your, or for each choice. Okay, so the first choice is have them killed. We'll pretend they were collateral damage of the assassin. I'm sorry, Alexander, but we can't afford to take any risks. Okay. And that's like the army resource there. Ensure their loyalty by promising them a much better position once I'm crowned. Even if they were really tempted to talk about what happened, it should be a good enough motivation to ensure their allegiance. And that's the Horror one. I have 100 more, I think, of these since I chose this path. And then the final one is when you explain to them that they mustn't say a word, give them a few coins and promise them more once the secret has been revealed. And in the meantime, send them on a vacation far away from here. That should be enough to guarantee their silence. I'm gonna say I'll promise them a much better position. I saw Alexander sign relief and imperceptibly loosen up. Alden, however, shrugged and bowed to me. That could work, yes. Time will tell. I have faith. Besides, if I'm right, I'll be surrounded by trustworthy people, which is always useful. I had spoken with determination, perfectly hiding my own doubts. Humans are unpredictable in nature. It was a bet, and I could only hope it would pay off. In any case, even if the servants talked and the rumor escaped, I still had my chances. The advantage I was building would be precious to me, but it wasn't the only weapon in my arsenal. Can I count on you, Alexander? He straightened into a military stance and immediately bowed. Of course, Your Grace. I will do my best to convince them. You've made the right decision. Without further ado, he bowed once more and left the room with a heavy step. Alden seemed to be lost in thought for a moment, giving me time to come to my senses before he bowed down in turn. I must at least inform the Master of Murmurs of the situation, so that we may launch an investigation. I nodded, aware of our lead spy's discretion as well as his efficiency. Once that is done, I'll come to you to plan the rest of your ascent. Once more, I nodded in approval, glad to be offered a little interlude that would allow me to gather my thoughts. And to dress decently while I was at it. After all, even if the coronation hadn't taken place yet, deep within me, I knew it. I felt it. Yes, Queen. I was the Empress. Ah, she ate that. She ate that. Chapter 1. Long live the Empress. Spring, day 8, morning. The sun had now been up for a few hours, promising a beautiful day, but I knew I wouldn't be able to appreciate it. Now that the rush of adrenaline from the news had passed, all I had left were doubts on the days to come, which were going to be exhilarating as much as terrifying. I was gambling my future, along with Calidia's, and that was a big deal. I had spent the past few hours readying myself and refining the details of my plan to appease my latent nervousness as best I could, but that didn't help me shake off my main preoccupation, the servants. Like Alden had said, I had made a risky decision, and I had been torturing myself for hours wondering if it was worth it. I was restless when I heard the knock and leapt to the door, opening it for Alden and letting him in. Alden, there, Your Grace. We have followed your orders. I hadn't seen that he was accompanied by the Master of Murmurs, who came in after him. A slight discomfort washed over me. His role inside the palace was vital, but since I was a child, I'd been terrified of his hidden face and the mysterious aura that surrounded him. Nevertheless, my discomfort turned into amazement when I saw him remove his hood as if it were nothing and turn to face me. My brain had pictured the worst for years, and it was very unsettling to finally be able to put a face to that man. I realized he wasn't as monstrous as I had imagined. In fact, I was so shocked that it made me forget the reason for my visitor's presence, which seemed to greatly amuse the Master of Murmurs. Is there a problem, Your Grace? Oh, it's just... I didn't know that you could show your face. To be honest, I do what I want, but in principle, I only remove my hood in the presence of my sovereign and their close collaborators. Though I like to entertain the mystery and anonymity that come with the job, it would be far too dangerous for me never to reveal my face. Some people might use that to usurp my identity. I see. Though it was disconcerting, it was also rather reassuring to see that a man as important as the Master of Murmurs already acknowledged me as his sovereign. Alden cleared his throat to recall me to my duty, and I suddenly remembered the reason for the two men's presence, which immediately made my anxiety flare up. To keep myself from staring at the master spy, I faced the advisor and fully focused on him. Did everything go well? My anxiety must have been conspicuous, even if I was doing my best to put on a confident expression. Alden, the servants seemed convinced by your offer. They left the palace without complaining, so I suppose we can count that as a win. Despite all that, it's still a bit early to be sure of anything. I gave the Master of Murmurs and Alexander the task of keeping a close eye on the situation. The Master of Murmurs slowly nodded in assent. We'll know more tomorrow, but for the time being, there's nothing more to report. I lifted my eyes to meet my advisors and flashed Alden a reassuring smile. Clearly, he read my emotions better than I had thought, and I couldn't allow myself to visibly waver at such a critical time. I know that, and what's done is done. Now we must focus on the future. Bring the High Priest to the council room. I need him to contact the Quadrator. Alden, Robert is a pious man. Are you sure it's a good idea to confide in him? Everyone likes to think the devout never lie, but one doesn't obtain a place like his without cheating a little. I admit that the idea of lying to him came to me for a fleeting moment, but to fool him would be a complex task, and I'll be needing his support when the time comes. The people put great stock in men of faith. Alden. Very well, Your Majesty. Will that be all? Yes, thank you. Okay, now we're in the afternoon. Robert, you summoned me, Your Grace. Yes, thank you for coming, Robert. I gestured for him to sit down while I settled behind my father's imposing desk. Like I had predicted, my behavior made him lift a curious brow. But I pretended not to notice it. I won't beat around the bush. My father, the Emperor, died during the night. Clearly, we had done a pretty good job at keeping that a secret, since the shock on his face seemed genuine. He said, "Whoa." What? But how? And why am I just learning about it now? I need to pray for his soul. I tried to appease him with a wave of my hand, inviting him to sit back down since he looked like he was about to get up. He was murdered. For the time being, we're keeping his death a secret, so we can investigate without causing any sort of panic. It was the Master of Murmurs' idea. He's convinced he'll be able to find the assassin more easily this way. Drowning in information, the high priest slumped into his chair and took in my half-truths, while I assumed a saddened expression. It truly is a tragic situation. Keeping quiet and hiding my mourning is a very hard task for me. I know it's a lot to ask of you, but you need to keep this a secret. I want to do everything in my power to uncover the murderer, especially since I'm scared he could come after me. Once more, I was quite proud of the quivers in my voice, and my acting seemed to be effective since I saw a spark of compassion light up in his eyes. I understand now why the general was guarding your door like a common soldier. With a closed expression on my face, I nodded, searching for the right words. The first and main reason I've summoned you here is so that I could confide in you and ask you to pray for my departed father's soul. Of course, Your Majesty. I'll lock myself up in the Great Temple and dedicate myself to the task. My face still sad, I gave him a tight, grateful smile, but inside I felt relieved. His prayers should keep him busy enough that he wouldn't be tempted to reveal everything. Now I could move on to the true reason of his presence here. But before that, this saddens me, but I have another favor to ask of you. Of course, Your Grace. What is it? Well, Alden and I are afraid that all the upstarts across the kingdom will rush to the castle and try to usurp the throne as soon as my father's death is made public. In their greed, many forget that my line sits on the throne by the grace of the Four, so I'd like to send a letter to the Quadrator and have him support my coronation, as well as reaffirm my legitimacy. Once more, he stayed silent, and I tried to hide my worry behind a veil of sadness. I hated that my plans depended on a single person, but I didn't have a choice. Only rulers and high priests could hope to quickly reach the ultimate leader of the cardinals, and I technically wasn't empress yet. I understand, yes. You're Magnus V's only legitimate child. You are Magnus V's only legitimate child. The throne should be yours. That said, I don't know if the Quadrator will approve of your advent. Perhaps if you were married, your candidacy would seem less inappropriate. I felt my body tense up at his words, and it took all I had to conceal how irritated I was by this reminder. I knew I would be told such things. I had mentally prepared myself for it, but obviously, it hadn't been enough. It's an issue, yes, and I'll do my best to find a fitting husband quickly, but you'll agree that I cannot entrust the throne of Calidia to just anyone. I have plenty of suitors, but I need some time to study each and every one of them. That's not something that can be done in just a couple of days, or even weeks. In the meantime, we do need someone to lead the country and make sure it doesn't sink into chaos. And if a regent were to be appointed, I'm afraid he might refuse to give the throne back to me and my husband, which would lead the whole country to a bloodbath. No one wants to see another era of murderous plots, like during Magnus III's time. You're right, Your Grace. We cannot let such a tragedy befall us. I'll go write a letter to the Quadrator right away, to express support for your coronation and explain our situation. Satisfied, I let out a sigh of relief. I thank you for your support, High Priest Robert. It means a lot to me. Swiftly, I opened one of the desk drawers and pulled out a thin, sealed letter. While I was waiting for you, I humbly wrote a few words destined for the Quadrator. We've never met, and I hoped this would help him get to know me a little, as well as reassure him of my faith in the Four. I was thinking that, perhaps, you would be so kind as to add it to your own correspondence? Once more, he seemed to be caught off guard, but he smiled instantly and enthusiastically. Of course, Your Majesty. It's a great idea. Relieved, I gave him the letter in question, while thanking him once more for his support and his help in these unprecedented times. I only hoped he didn't have the audacity to break the seal, because even if it did contain a few cliches on my virtues, the letter mostly made promises that could actually motivate the Quadrator. Alright, we've got two options. The first is I knew that gold made the world go round, and so I promised a hefty donation to the Great Temple of Meridian. Knowing his taste for luxury, I knew that he wouldn't be insensitive to a few more riches. And the second one is, having always known that I'd need his support one day, I had used the few resources at my disposal to observe him closely, and I had learnt something that could stain his reputation. Interesting. I don't know. I don't know that I want to blackmail, you know? Okay. To play with a man as powerful as the Quadrator, and I wasn't talking about his possible connection to the gods, but his actual worldly power, was a risky move, but it was all worth it. The dice had been cast. I could only hope for things to go well and prepare the field for my conquest of the Callidian nobility. Alright, it is evening. I love the flowers on that title card. Despite my desire to act, for the time being, I couldn't do anything but wait for the Quadrator's answer. Even if the letter had left that very morning, Meridian was far away, and I knew I couldn't hope for an answer for at least 3 days. I had to chomp at the bit and act naive. My first thought was to mingle with the court so I could clear my head, but then pretending that nothing was up and feeding rumors to justify my father's absence was more frustrating than doing nothing. Even Marjorie's presence irritated me. Despite her advanced age, as soon as she turned her inquisitive eyes onto me, I had the impression she managed to perceive the truth. And so I had taken refuge in the library, hoping to read a little. But in all honesty, even if I managed to unscramble a few words, my thoughts were far away, and my mind was replaying the events of the previous night, asking myself again and again if I had done the right thing. Your Grace. Oh, as if he suddenly realized where we were, the Master of Murmurs repeated his interjection in a lower, albeit just as zealous, tone. Your Grace, we have an urgent problem on our hands. This preamble was enough to make me abandon my boring reading, and I put down my book, ensuring there weren't any indiscreet ears in the library before I invited him to continue. After he also made sure no one else was around, he pulled back his hood and resumed his explanations. He is sexy. I will say that. As you know, I've asked to keep an eye on the 3 people aware of your father's death. However, barely 24 hours have passed and I've been told that the maid immediately went to a noble, the Baron Tolbin of Levalloy, instead of leaving town. That bitch. I conducted an investigation and I'm almost positive the 2 are in a relationship. I've interrogated her colleagues, who confirmed that she's had a rich benefactor for a few months already, and everything hints at his name. I didn't really care about my servant's romantic endeavors, but I wanted to know where he was going with this. Are you afraid she'll speak? Are you afraid she'll speak? Yes, and I'm afraid the Baron will want to use that information to glean more power. Is he trying to blackmail us? No, we've had nothing of the sort, but tonight he's holding a party to which half of the nobles currently in the capital are invited. That cannot be a coincidence. No event justifies for such a party to be improvised. It's improper. I admit this situation is very odd, but do we have any proof? Unfortunately, no, Majesty. Only suspicions. I took in a few deep breaths while I pondered the situation and calculated the risks. If these allegations happened to be true, I would be stuck between a rock and a hard place. Not only would my plan to gain time fail utterly, but everyone would know of my deception. Moreover, if she didn't speak, now that I knew of this maid's allegiance, I wasn't sure it was a good idea to give her a better position down the line. That would give her more opportunities to spy on me for the Baron. Damn. What are our options? There aren't many, Majesty. Either we do nothing and wait to see what happens while preparing to counteract possible rumors, or we have them both assassinated to eliminate any risk of leaks. But the Baron is an influential man. There are far fewer chances of his death passing unnoticed than that of a simple servant. Tired, I massaged my temples to help me think about the best course of action in the situation. Death was most definitely the best way to stop someone from talking, but the reason I wanted to avoid such methods in the first place was because they disgusted me, and they could well have unwelcome repercussions for me. Would allying myself with the Baron be a possibility? It's true that this information will give him power, but not as much as having an Empress owe him a favor. I think it could work, but do you really want to start your rule indebted to such an ambitious man? That was indeed the risk. I could always double-cross him once the danger had passed, but that would undeniably have after effects. Do we have an idea of what he wants? I'd like to know what I'm getting myself into. If I had a few days, I would have been able to tell you, but I can't answer you in time for the party. Sighing once more, I closed my eyes to better contemplate my options. Damn! Okay, so there's a free option. When one plays, one must expect to lose. I'm ready to accept the consequences of my actions, even if it won't be easy. I'm afraid trying to fix things will only make them worse, and I don't want to fall into such a vicious cycle. I'll wait to see what happens. We should prepare as best we can for what is to come. Okay. The second option costs army points and the influence points. I despise having to resort to this solution, but because the servant hasn't been trustworthy, I don't have much of a choice. Have them murdered before tonight and make sure this can't be traced back to me. Otherwise, consequences would be even more disastrous. Oh, I have to sneeze. Oh, that was a big sneeze. And then the final one is, right now, what matters most is to solve this issue. If the Baron demands more than he is owed after all is said and done, we'll decide what to do with him. But he might behave reasonably, which would mark the start of a fruitful alliance. We won't know until we try. We at least have to attempt to reason with him. I'm between having them assassinated and just letting it be and figuring it out as things happen. Okay, I'm gonna go with this free option. I literally just closed my eyes and moved my mouse around. Alright, okay. An audacious choice. I must admit I'm a little surprised. I didn't expect you to be the kind of woman who'd put her fate in the hands of a fool. But if that is what you want, so be it. I will inform Alden of your decision. Slowly I nodded, while telling myself that indeed, a few prayers to Horel wouldn't be a bad idea under the circumstances. Oh, I see. So the four are the gods and goddesses of like the army, money, influence, and the other one, which was religion. Yes, he's the most qualified for this kind of speech. He needs to be prepared to defend us against rumors if your suspicions prove correct. I will let you know once I have more news. I will send a spy there, which should allow us to stay ahead of our detractors by a few hours. Thank you. I'm counting on you. The Master of Murmurs gave me an elegant bow and departed, leaving me alone once more, with doubts gnawing at my mind. I waited for the end of the day with more nervousness than usual, unable to concentrate, fearing the arrival of the Master of Murmurs as much as I hoped for it. Alright, it's nighttime. This is really interesting so far. He's back! It was already late when the Master of Murmurs knocked on my door to inform me of the evolution of the situation. You know what? I've been trying to do this British accent for him. I think I'm gonna stop. Whatever. Although it was late at night, I hadn't managed to close my eyes at all, and I awaited the outcome with anxiety, despite the detachment that I had wanted to display earlier that day. Your Grace, I have good news. Favored by the gods, I got an achievement. Survive a choice that could have led to your death. Oh. When I heard these words, I calmed down, already aware of how this was going to play out. Clearly, our worries were unfounded. Our spy is positive. The Baron threw this party to announce his rushed engagement to a noble from Vargas. Oh. What about the servant? Oh. I think there is a lot more to it, but nothing that could affect your coronation. Either the servant kept to herself, or the Baron chose not to say a word. We can't be sure of anything at the moment, so I will still keep a close eye on him. But I do believe the four are with you, Majesty. Indeed, the gods must have been with me, since I couldn't have hoped for a better outcome. More than relieved, I tried nonetheless to stay neutral while dismissing the Master of Murmurs. I thank you for your work. The four may be with me, but believe me when I say I'm relieved to have you on my side as well. My compliment seemed to please him, and he politely bowed before leaving me in peace. The days to come were going to be taxing, but at least I could remove one of the weights that had been pressing on my chest. Okay, 2 days later in the morning, day 10. Alden. Your Grace, this is a little premature, but should you become Empress, you will need to manage the kingdom's policies. I'd like to make sure that you're ready for such a task. Oh, one can always learn more. Let me play through the tutorial. As you already know, the kingdom's policies influence how your subjects, noble or otherwise, view you, but also what resources will be available to us. You can set tax rates for the people and the nobility. As you may have guessed, the higher they are, the less happy the people will be, but the faster the coffers will fill up. But there are many other things, much more subtle. For example, you can decide how open to trade our borders should be, or which sectors of the economy you'd like to focus on. We must also consider how to protect ourselves from our neighbors, especially bearing in mind Vargas's warlike inclinations, but maintaining an army is very, very expensive. As such, investing in diplomacy may offer better results in the long run. And finally, we have to manage the priests. Their influence on the people is immense, and they have infrastructures all over the nation. Offerings made to them are never wasted. We've set up regular periods of time during which we collect earnings, but there will be a short delay before the consequences of any changes you make can be seen. The story alternates with phases of gameplay which are triggered between 2 scenes. During these phases, you will be able, among other things, to modify your kingdom's general policies. Gains will be distributed at the end of the gameplay phase. Is that clearer now? Yes, I understand. Yes, even if it's all very theoretical. That's true, but the best way to approach the subject in a more concrete manner is to look into it yourself. Even if I'll only be doing this work after my coronation, may I try my hand at it now? I'm sure there are things that I'd like to change in my father's policies. Okay. Interesting, interesting. So, down here we have more resources. We have people, nobility, money, religion, army, goods, and influence. So these are the politics. The summary works as follows. Your current resources feature gain and loss. At the end of each scene, you will lose/gain the resources marked in brackets until you change policies. Got it. Okay, so taxes are moderate. Excuse me. The people will understand and you'll receive a moderate amount of money. If I do low, people will be happy but you'll earn little money. The people will be angry but money will flow endlessly. I'm gonna keep that to moderate. Offerings You will help finance a good part of the temples and academies across the realm. You will help finance the majority of the temples and academies across the realm. Trade, restricted, controlled, or free. Small taxes are levied on products. Trade between countries. Importation of raw goods. You'll focus on craftsmanship. I'm gonna do farming for economy. Army. I'm gonna do maintain and diplomacy. Minimum, cordial, active. I'll do cordial. I think I'm gonna put offerings up to high. Okay, almost everything is in the positive. We're losing 1 for money, but I think that's fine. Nobility isn't going up, but okay. That sounds most excellent to me. Thank you, Alden. Teehee. Okay. Day 15. Oh, 5 days later. Your Grace. Dawn had barely risen when I heard a kerfuffle at the door, and I immediately recognized Robert's voice. I got up with a groan and quickly slipped on a dress, trying to make myself presentable before opening the door. High Priest, what's going on? I tried to remain as neutral as possible, but I was burning up with a mix of anxiety and excitement because I had a solid guess as to what this was about. The Quadrator, he answered, Your Majesty. Nervous, he handed me 2 letters bearing the recognizable seal of His Holiness. Your name is written on them. I didn't dare open them, Your Highness. Exhilarated, I looked at the 2 pieces of paper that were about to seal my future. One seemed official, while the other was explicitly for my eyes only. I would have liked to be alone while reading them both, but clearly it had taken Robert all he had not to break the wax seal on the official letter, and he now stared at me impatiently. My throat was dry as I grabbed a paper cutter to open the correspondence, and my heart was beating so fast I had the impression everyone in the room could hear it. I'm nervous. Lady Genevieve of Terranfell, daughter of Magnus V of Terranfell the Fierce, Emperor of Calidia. The 4 have spoken and have recognized you as the legitimate heir of the crown of Calidia by virtue of your blood and despite your gender. By this decree, I convey the words of the gods. May your governance be respected by all the just and the pious. May your rule prosper and never stray from the forest faith. Oh, we ate that. Does that say Vermer? I don't know. Quadrator by the grace of the 4. We ate that. I was shaking so hard I felt my legs give in, and I had to sit on my bed so I didn't fall over. I had done everything in my power to make this moment happen, but now that it was upon me, I was engulfed by all the emotions I had accumulated in the past week. Robert seemed to understand me, and he bowed to leave me a few long seconds so I could take in the Quadrator's words. Finally, he spoke up. That's marvelous, Your Majesty. I knew the 4 would acknowledge your legitimacy. Almost timidly, I nodded and tried to recover my usual composure. With the Quadrator's support, my coronation was sure to happen, but that didn't mean I was rid of enemies or other contenders. I couldn't let my guard down yet. Yes. The time has come for everyone to know the truth. Gather the nobles in the castle at dawn and prepare the pigeons. He nodded, a grave expression on his face. Yes, we can't wait any longer. The secret of your father's death couldn't have been kept indefinitely in any case. It was true that his absence had been going on for a while, and a possible illness worried people just as much as a possible death. It was fortunate that these letters hadn't taken too long to arrive. I'll be there. I need to finish getting ready. Of course, Your Majesty. I'll have the bells rung, but at such an early time, I don't suppose we can gather everyone in less than an hour. I approved with a polite nod, and soon I watched him leave and close the door. Finally on my own, I collapsed on the bed and let myself gloat. I whooped in pure joy. Whooped in pure childish joy as I read the Quadrator's letter over and over again. I knew that I had plenty of challenges ahead of me, but this was my first victory against traditions, and I intended to savor it for as long as I could. Don't we have one other letter to look at? Only after a few long minutes had passed did I decide to open the second letter, which was addressed to me personally. I'm scared. Oh, Lady Genevieve de Terrenfell, thank you for your generous donation to Meridian's great temple. Please know that I never forget my friends. I'm sure we'll get along marvelously. Oh, thank God. Thank the gods. By the four. Happy with my decision, I sighed and carefully put the letter away into my desk. Okay, I'm not mad about my decision so far. Pretty promises were easy to forget. I could perhaps use the parchment to remind him of his support one day, or to show to some reluctant noble just how popular I was with one of the most powerful men on the continent. In any case, I believed that my actions had managed to sway him, and I was quite proud of that. Now it was the court I had to sway, and I knew this wasn't going to be an easy task. Spring, day 18, afternoon. Make sure not to overexert yourself, Genevieve. You're spending your days locked up in this office. You should get out a bit to clear your head. Come take a walk with this old lady. I had left the door open, and although I hadn't heard Marjorie come over to me, I wasn't surprised, since her perfume, which she applied too liberally, had filled the room. I almost felt nostalgic for a moment. She's so pretty. Contrary to what she seemed to suggest, I wasn't here for pleasure. I was overwhelmed. Invitations, solicitations, promises. I'd spent the last 3 days flattering Khalidian nobility to ensure that nothing would interfere with the coronation in 3 weeks' time, and I still had a lot to do. Oh, perhaps you can fool everyone else, but I know you're far from being an old lady, Marjorie. My reply made her laugh, a hoarse and joyous sound that belied what I had just said. Oh, I still have the same quick wit I had when I was 20, but I'm afraid my whining bones disagree with you, sweetheart. Come on, don't be cruel. You already broke my poor heart when you didn't let me in on the secret. I put my quill down with a sigh and closed the inkwell, hoping its content would not dry out. She had taught me many things, and even if I had grown stronger than her in a few areas, it was obvious that she still used guilt like no one else. She almost made me feel bad for hiding my father's death from her. You know full well I didn't have a choice. The information had to be disclosed to as few people as possible. I love her bob. Marjorie's bob, I love it. She looks so like classy and elegant, and like she just looks like a bad bitch. I don't know. I know, sweetheart. But I would have liked to be there for you. These past few days mustn't have been easy. No, they weren't indeed. As promised, I quietly walked by Marjorie's side through the garden, but we couldn't take one step before some servant or noble offered me their condolences. This is a beautifully hand-drawn background, by the way. Genevieve, I'm so tired of pretending to be sad. I know your father was a flawed man. She paused, looking at me as she seemed to hesitate to say something. I looked at her, intrigued. There was so much contempt in her voice when she spoke of his flaws that she obviously knew something about him, something I probably didn't. But no matter what anyone says, he was your family, your blood. You shouldn't hate him like that. It's not healthy, especially now that he's dead. I'm gonna have to disagree with you right there, Marjorie. I sensed from her tone that I'd get nothing more from her, at least not today, and I didn't insist, draping myself once again in my indignity. No, that's too easy. You can't just die and expect that all your mistakes will be forgiven. Period, Genevieve. It's not as if he chose to die. And so, it doesn't change anything. She sighed, and I decided to change the subject because before I had to listen to another lecture on the importance of family bonds. Then he should have prioritized his family bonds. That's all I have to say about that. But since we're speaking of forgiveness, I need your help. Suspicious, she frowned, although she kept walking calmly between the flower beds. I would like it if you gave me Fear Castle. That old, dilapidated fortress? What for? Pretending to admire some insects that were flying around the planters, I hesitated for a second. I need to clean my glasses, they're so dirty. Okay, that's better. I needed the fortress to buy the Faram's loyalty, but Marjorie held a deep hatred for them. I didn't like lying to her, but I couldn't run the risk that she'd refuse my request. I'm gonna tell her the truth even if she won't like it. I need it because I'm going to give it back to the Faram. The Faram? Upon hearing my words, Marjorie froze, trembling with anger. You want to give it back to those vile traitors? Do you know how many men died storming it? Do you know what this fortress costs me? I knew she would react that way. Even though the war had ended about 20 years ago, she still bore painful memories of it. Yes, I know all that. But it all took place before my birth. It's time we move forward and reconcile with the Faram, lest we repeat the mistakes of the past. Yes, Mom. Okay. Yes, I know all that, but it all took place before my birth. It's time we move forward and reconcile with the Faram, lest we repeat the mistakes of the past. I don't want another Faram revolt under my rule. I need their support for my coronation, and to obtain that support I need Fear Castle. You know just as well as I do that it's only a ruin now, an old pile of rubble left on steep and barren land. It's nothing more than a symbol. My old aunt grumbled for a few long minutes, but she was forced to concede to my point, even if it cost her. Do what you want, but believe me, once you become Empress, I'll call in the favor. Thank you, Marjorie. I knew I could count on you. Relieved, I finally let out the breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. Knowing the affection Marjorie held for me, I knew that I'd end up convincing her. But as I had a meeting with the Faram heir in 4 days, I didn't have a lot of room for errors. With one less issue weighing on my heart, I continued my walk with a bounce in my step, forgetting for a few minutes the court's problems and plots. Day 22. Afternoon. Oh, who's this? This was my first time ever meeting Theodore of Faram. I had heard him. Oh, let me save. I don't know. Save 1. Okay. He's quite sexy. I had heard him described as a cold and distant man, but I still didn't expect him to be so glacial. I waited for him to deign reply to my greeting, as courtesy demanded, but the silence between us was deafening. He only stood there, staring at me, impassive, without even so much as a good morning or a nice to meet you, while I had to keep smiling, not to lose face. I had better things to do than engage in a staring contest. Consequently, I swallowed my pride and gestured to one of the chairs around the staff table, where a large map of Calidia had been laid out. I imagine you must be tired after such a long trip. Please, sit down. I thought he was going to stay standing there, but he did finally sit down without another word, while I took a seat not too far from him. Like I said in my letter, I'd like for the Terranfell and the Faram to reconcile. The tensions between our two families have lasted long enough, and I imagine your sudden desire to make peace has nothing to do with your upcoming coronation. The Monteliat are eating out of your hand, but the Voyaldor will never support you, which means you very much need us. Coming as he was from a lineage with a somewhat barbaric reputation, he had done a fairly clever analysis of the situation, but I didn't let that stop me. Very much need is a bit strong. Should I remind you that I have the support of the Order, and by extension the Four? The people will follow me. That said, I do wish for my coronation to go as smoothly as possible, and the rest of my rule as well. I'd like to avoid bloodshed altogether if possible, and I fear that the ancestral enmity between our two families might lead us to just that. Neither you nor I were born when the Faram revolt took place. It's up to us to decide if we want to perpetuate the cycle of conflict, or if we want to build something new. He took on a thoughtful expression and observed me with renewed interest. It's easy for you to forget. You're on the side of the victors. You haven't been rehashing your resentment for 20 years. I think it's really funny that she said ancestors and it's only 20 years ago. Like, okay, girl. Alright. Oh, uh-oh. My controller fell. Okay, I had to move some things around on my desk. Precisely. Wouldn't it be easier for you to forget as well? especially if it's been haunting you for that long. I don't know. Even if we were inclined to consider your offer of a reconciliation, how could we trust you? I won't give you a history lesson, but that revolt didn't happen for nothing. He was following me exactly where I was leading, and it took me some effort to repress a smile and keep a business-like countenance. Just like I got you right where I want you. Firstly, I'm not the same person as my father or my grandfather. It's unfair to distrust me as a result of their actions. And secondly, I'm ready to make a gesture of goodwill if the Faram are ready to make one as well. I'm listening. If you openly support my ascent to the throne, I'm ready to return to your family the Fear Castle Citadel and the lands that go with it. I know this is clearly for political gain, but land back, bitch. This time, I savored the true surprise in his eyes when I handed him the deed I had taken the time to prepare. As you know, it was confiscated after the revolt, since it's located at a strategic crossroads between Terranfell and Monteliet. I thought it would be a strong gesture to return it to you, but also quite a symbol of trust. After glancing over the signed pledge, Theodore looked at me once more, with defiance this time. There's no doubt that my family will appreciate the gesture. I was already basking in my victory when he continued, his voice cold. But as for me, it only makes me see that you're one of those politicians ready to use every dirty trick in the book if it will give you what you want. I had been warned that you're the rightful heir of that snake who used to lead the Monteliet, but now I'm seeing it with my own eyes. So yes, indeed, we will accept your offer and support your coronation, because unlike you, we stick to our word. But you should know you're not fooling me. I'll remain at the palace to make sure you don't stab us in the back as soon as you've achieved your goals. In the end, his analysis of the situation, or indeed of my character, wasn't as clever as I had thought. I was ambitious, there was no denying that. I wasn't shy about it either, but my desire to make peace was just as sincere. Stay at the castle if you wish. Dukes are welcome here at any time. But you'll get eaten alive by the court if you always speak your mind so plainly, my lord. He shrugged condescendingly before getting up. Oh, I'm very capable of defending myself, Majesty. I just choose not to use the same venom as you do. That doesn't mean I don't know how to protect myself from its sting. No one liked being called a snake, but even if it was unpleasant to be treated with such hostility by someone to whom I had never done anything, I'd gotten what I had wanted. I didn't wish to risk making him change his mind by starting an argument. Time will tell. I do hope you'll change your mind about me, but as long as the Faram uphold their end of the bargain, you're free to think whatever you like. Don't say that as if you were doing me a favor, Your Grace. Even empresses don't have dominion over people's thoughts. And in order to keep me from having the last word of our pointless sparring, he immediately turned on his heel and slammed the door. He needs a punch in the face. Furious, I was engaged in deep breathing exercise when Alden walked in. Our medieval mindfulness queen, actually. Medieval mindfulness queen. Alden, how did things go with Theodora Faram? He is a less sexy version of you, Alden. I shrugged with a sigh. I suppose it was all right. At least the Faram should support my coronation. That's all that matters. How about you? Did you manage to convince Leon? As you suspected, he's not inclined to support you. Apparently, he and his brother fear that Calidia will become a second Assyria. I raised my eyes to the sky, not hiding my exasperation at these words, as if it were enough for a woman to lead the empire for us to become a matriarchy. Please. Have you at least convinced him not to openly oppose the coronation? Yes. As you suggested, I implied that a civil war wouldn't be good for business, and that you were easy to manipulate. Was that enough? Yes and no. The man's smarter than I thought. He took this as an opportunity to claim the position of treasurer. Treasurer? Look at him go. Since he believes you're incompetent, he thinks that's the only way for him to ensure that the country stays on the right track, and that the Voyaldor's economical interests are preserved. Upset, I bit my lips while I pondered the implications of such a nomination. I didn't want him to stand in my way at every council meeting, but there was no valid reason for me to refuse him this privilege either. I imagine before asking for that position, he encouraged the current treasurer to retire. That's correct. A pretty house by the seaside is waiting for him, and now he can't wait to be gone. I imagine we don't have a choice then. I'll summon Leon tomorrow and pretend to be a naive ingenue who's happy to let him take on big responsibilities. I sighed heavily, and Alden stepped towards me with a discreetly amused smile. Are you sure you'll manage? Manage? Playing the easily influenced ingenue. I sighed, offering him a reassuring smile. It would not be fun having tea with such a conservative man, but there was nothing insurmountable about it. Oh, don't worry about me. I can play dumb when I need to. I've spent my whole life appearing less dangerous than I really am. I should be able to pretend, just this once. Excuse me. You might have some nasty surprises down the line, however. He nodded, with a gleam of pride in his eyes. Ah, he's so fine. I trust you then. Day 25. Your Grace. Oh, this is Alden. Your Grace. News of your nomination to the throne has spread quickly. We've received a letter addressed to you from the Queen Maeva of Assyria. My respects, Empress of Calidia. I wish to write you so I could congratulate you on your recent nomination to the throne, as well as offer my condolences for your father's death. Assuming power is a heavy responsibility, but I have been told that you are very capable, and I know that Calidia is in good hands. Calidia and Assyria have always maintained solid diplomatic relations. I hope that they will continue, nay, prosper, under your rule. Up until now, the matriarchs have always been opposed to non-commercial negotiations, but your nomination has made them curious. We dare to believe that in your presence, my emissaries and myself will cease to be subjected to the patronizing condescension that your predecessors invariably displayed, and that made my country's past rulers so wary of further interactions. The gods whispered to me that your ascension to the throne signals the dawn of a new era for the continent. Therefore, I wish to support you as much as I can. With the matriarch's assent, I have decided to mandate an emissary, whose role it will be to liaise between our two nations. Her name is Asha Isavis. She is an exceptional woman who, I hope, will be welcomed into your palace as she deserves. With all of my sympathy, Maeva, Queen of Assyria. She's like girl boss. She said gatekeep, girl boss, whatever it's called. Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss. That's what it is. Please. Okay, that's wonderful news. I'll need as many allies as possible during my rule. I hope the emissary is beautiful, by the way. Indeed, diplomacy is a delicate art, but it's fundamental for Calidia's prosperity. I kind of feel like I would be a really good empress. I don't know. I don't know if I would be able to do things like, you know, order assassinations and stuff like that, but I don't know. I think I would at least be really good at the diplomacy and stuff like that, and caring for my people. Maybe it would have to be like a Naruto Sasuke kind of thing, where like I'm the ruler, you know, I'm the Hokage, but then there's somebody in the back line, you know, doing all the sneaky stuff, doing all the sneaky stuff that needs to be done. Okay. Anyway, Alden says, indeed, diplomacy is a delicate art, but it's fundamental for Calidia's prosperity. You'll need to woo the neighboring countries and ensure their goodwill towards us. But we'll talk about that later. for now, we have a coronation to organize. Okay, so the diplomacy is not available in the demo. I'm really excited to see what that looks like in the full game. Okay, day 36 of spring afternoon. Alright. We look beautiful! The big day had finally come. Impatient and nervous, I paced my bedroom while checking my hair and my outfit for the umpteenth time. Nothing was easy as per usual. I was supposed to display poise, elegance, and grandeur, all while remaining humble. Alright then. Despite all that, I felt ready and dignified, and I only waited to hear from Alexander, who would escort me since my father wasn't in a state to do so. Please. Oh, I love this armor. Oh my god, he's matching me. We look kind of good together. I won't lie. We look really good together, actually. Time was passing by at an infuriatingly slow pace when finally he knocked and walked into the room, clad in his ceremonial attire. That armor and the pompous cape that went with it didn't suit him, and I suppressed a smile when I saw him squeezed into it. He looks good in it, though. Ready, Your Grace? I love the gold armor. It looks so cool. Also, I love that there's a lion as a Leo, personally, and then on the emblem, I think there's a lion whose head is the sun or something. I can't tell it completely, but again, as a Leo, I'm eating this up. Almost timidly, I nodded while he politely bowed to let me pass in front of him. Then he followed suit, respectfully walking one step behind. Her Grace, Genevieve de Tarenfell, Princess of Clydia, Duchess of Tarenfell, Lady of Vermont, blessed by Horo. I closed my eyes and savored this title that I was hearing for the last time. When the herald would announce me next, I would be Empress of Clydia, Princess of Genovia. This is so cool. Wow, I don't know who this person is on the right, but they're beautiful. And there's someone behind Marjorie. I didn't remember having ever seen the throne room this packed. Clearly, when I had been told that the entire castle had gathered here, it hadn't been an exaggeration. To try and hide my nervousness, I walked at a slow pace, my head held high, my eyes leveled at the throne. But my curiosity slowly got the better of me, and while I tried to remain as dignified as I could, I let my gaze wander discreetly in search of familiar faces. Alden, of course, stood right next to my throne, his face impassive, but his eyes bright enough that I could see the pride reflected in them. Aww, he looks so good. God, he's so sexy. I can't, he looks so good. Robert was there too, my future crown already held in his hands. He did his best to appear as imposing as his function required him to be. Also, Robert, the little sigil on his forehead reminds me of Star Trek. No, not Star Trek. What? Stargate. Stargate, that's what it's called. My parents were so into like those old 90s, 2000s sci-fi shows. So, Stargate, Star Trek, all that kind of stuff. And there's a character that I remember from probably, I would say the most popular, Stargate Atlantis, maybe? I feel like that was the one that was going on while I was a kid. But he has a sigil on his forehead. There's one character. It doesn't look like this, but he reminds me of him. Alright. In the nobles section, I recognized, oh, that's Leon. Wow, Leon is beautiful. Oh my god, I love his dreads. I love his dreads. They're so beautiful. I will also say one thing I am so appreciative of is the attention to detail in these faces. And even if somebody is of the same race, maybe not the same ethnicity, but or maybe same ethnicity, but maybe not the exact same race. That's what I meant to say. There's still a difference in their facial features. So like on the right you have Robert, who is a black man, and you also have Leon, who is also a black man. They have different skin tones. They have different facial features for the most part, but you're not missing their ethnic features, you know, like you can still tell they're very much black people. And I don't know, I just really appreciate that. It's not something you often see in visual novels especially, and I'm very, very appreciative of the differences in facial features. And the amount of diversity in this game, like it's not even like it's so effortless, you know, like clearly there was a lot of thought and effort put into this, but it doesn't feel forced is what I'm trying to say. I don't know, I think it's really cool. I'm having a really good time with this game so far. But yeah, Leon is beautiful. To my surprise, I also spotted Theodore leaning against a pillar, his gloomy aura seeming to hold people at bay, so that he wasn't drowning in unknown faces. Please. As I passed her, Marjorie gave me a smile, and I felt her perfume reach me, calming me despite its loud scent. Finally, the last step stretched before me, and I suddenly realized that I couldn't hear the crowd's hubbub anymore. The only sound was my heart beating in my temples. I'm so excited. Ceremoniously, I knelt in front of his throne that was still forbidden to me. Soon, I had cause to praise whomever had the brilliant idea to place a small cushion under my knees. The blessings were proceeding at an infuriatingly slow pace. I listened to them with only half an ear, but I still displayed my most serious and focused face to honor the solemnity of the ceremony. The day before, Robert had asked me if I wanted to celebrate tradition by taking the name of one of my predecessors, or if I'd rather start my own dynasty. Ooh. We either keep my name, or my name will be Melisandre II. I like Guinevere. Or Genevieve, not Guinevere, sorry. I like Genevieve, so I'm gonna keep my name. I understood the importance of traditions, but I was much too proud of who I was to give up my name, my identity. I wanted to carry it with pride for as long as I would rule. I didn't know the sermon by heart, but I knew it would be ending soon, since the whole place seemed to grow livelier. With each passing second, both the crowd and Robert's voice vibrated with renewed excitement until the key moment came. I closed my eyes and braced myself for the weight of the surprisingly light crown that he delicately placed upon my head. Yay! I'm so glad I chose this outfit, oh my god. Rise up, Genevieve the First de Terrenfell, Empress of Calidia, first of her name, Duchess of Terrenfell, Lady of Vermont, chosen by the Four and blessed by Horel. That's my fucking queen! Oh my god! You shall bow no longer, since from this day and until your death, in the name of the gods, I entrust you with the charge of guiding your subjects and making Calidia shine bright for decades to come. Slowly, I rose and turned around to sit on that throne that had been meant for me. Then I opened my eyes to look at the crowd. It suddenly went quiet, and an almost religious silence settled in for a few seconds. Alexander, long live Empress Genevieve the First. Yeah, Genevieve the First is so much better. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to my predecessor Melisandre or whatever. Melisandre, whatever. But Genevieve the First eats. I'm sorry. Alexander's voice resounded next to me, oddly loud, and as it shattered this almost dreamlike moment, cheers arose from all sides in a spectacular chaos. Oh, there's a beautiful woman. A beautiful black woman. Interesting. The general enthusiasm was contagious, and I caught myself smiling and waving at the crowd with a bit too much vigor. Day 36, evening. Oh my god, we ate that! The party was in full swing, and if I was still beaming, my head was starting to hurt with the incessant solicitations of people come to pay their respects. You should empty- oh, sorry, this is Marjorie. You should empty this glass into a flower pot and ask one of the servants to pour you grape juice instead. Or maybe I had too much wine. If I was being honest, I couldn't remember how many times my glass had been refilled. But one thing I knew, it had never stayed empty. Even if Marjorie was probably right. I pouted. She's so me. She's so me. I'd be like, fine. Come on, Marjorie. Am I not allowed to have a bit of fun? It is my coronation day after all. She shook her head with a tender smile. She said, no, sweetie. You can't do this precisely because it's your coronation day, sweetheart. Some people might be subtler about it than others, but everyone is watching you and judging you. She was right, and I knew it. I let myself relax perhaps a bit too much, carried away by my enthusiasm. That acknowledgement didn't stop me from heaving a deep sigh of despair. Well, I didn't come here to coddle you. I know you're perfectly capable of managing the situation. I just wanted to officially congratulate you. No one deserves this title more than you, and you'll make an incredible empress. Her face sparkled with pride and affection, and I felt my heart melt under her praise. Her opinion had always mattered a lot to me, and I felt myself go back to the little girl I once was, who always sought her approval. I hesitated for an instant, but finally, I let myself gently hug her, making sure not to spill my glass on her in the process. Thank you, Marjorie. Thank you for everything. She kindly stroked my hair, and I stayed in her embrace for a few moments. Aww, just long enough to regain control of my emotions, which were threatening to make me cry. She gently patted my back to remind me of my duties, and I finally let go of her, my face now wearing a more neutral expression. Go on, sweetheart. I won't keep you any longer. People are queuing to talk to you. She was right. As much as I tried to hide it, many people stood nearby, waiting for an opportunity to pounce on me as soon as I'd be free. The quickest to the mark— oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Let me make sure my PNG tuber is not covering any part of her up. Oh no, okay, great. Perfect. Incredible, amazing. The quickest to the mark was a young woman I had never seen before. One look at the pretty dreadlocks she sported, decorated with small golden jewels, told me her background. She is so beautiful. She is gorgeous. Magnificent coronation, Your Grace. Her melodious accent convinced me I was right, and I flashed her a courteous smile. Thank you. Lady Asha, are you not? She seemed surprised for a second, then her face lit up. Oh my god, she's stunning! Well, I'm flattered you recognized me before I could even introduce myself. I don't know who spoke of me to you, but I do hope they said good things. She gave a small laugh as if to brush off this pleasantry, which I knew had a much deeper meaning. After all, I had indeed heard a lot about her, both from Queen Maeva, who had warmly recommended her to me, and from Robert, who had tried to paint her as an ungodly heathen and temptress the minute she had set foot in the capital. I'm gonna need Robert to simmer down, because no. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We will not be speaking on my Black Queen, okay? Of course, your queen keeps showering you with praise. Then allow me to return her kindness, and to tell you how fantastic Maeva is. She'll make a formidable ally. Her familiar way of talking about her ruler made me quirk an eyebrow, but I didn't mention it. After all, Assyrian customs were much different from ours, and her relationship with her queen was none of my concern. As long as she didn't use the same casual tone while talking about Khalidian nobility, there would be no issue. I love all the gold that she's wearing. There's that gold collar necklace, the gold armbands, there's a bunch of bracelets as well, an ear cuff, and gold hoops on her locks. Like, oh, she's so beautiful. Like, my god. I also, this is quite a small detail, I love the way that the lips are drawn, and how for both Genevieve and Asha, it looks like they have gloss on, or at least. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. I love this. Okay. In any case, I do hope Lydia is to your liking, Lady Asha. Unfortunately, I still haven't had the time to visit your beautiful lands and to taste your many specialties. Therefore, the question may be a bit premature. She gave me a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes, which made me see that her answer was an elegant way to not speak ill of the place without lying. Now that it was my castle and my nation, it did upset me a little, but I couldn't be mad at her for finding the place a bit drab. My father had never had a keen eye for interior design. I was about to ask her more futile questions when Robert stepped into the space between us. The gesture was overtly rude, but his position allowed him to act in that manner, and I turned away from Asha to listen to what he had to say. Look at him. Look at this bitch. Your Majesty, please forgive me for interrupting, but I must speak with you on a topic of the utmost importance. He barely hid the dirty look he gave Asha. I'm gonna need you to simmer the fuck down, Robert. She understood the message and gracefully curtsied. I'll go breathe some fresh air in the gardens, if you'll excuse me, Your Majesty. I mentally took note of where to find her if I wanted to continue the conversation, and bowed to her in lieu of goodbye. Then I focused my attention on Robert, wondering with some trepidation if something bad had happened. What's going on? Don't worry, Your Majesty. Nothing that will spoil your night. I just wanted to make sure that you were taking my warnings about the Icerian diplomat seriously. I'm gonna push you off a balcony. I don't find her trustworthy at all. I had to hold back a sigh. It was quite distressing to see him go to such trouble only to interrupt my conversation with a foreign dignitary. Please be comforted. She wasn't inviting me to dance naked in the sea in honor of the snake goddess Sith. I would do that. I had said that in a playful tone, hoping to lighten the mood. Hoping to lighten the mood, but he looked even more upset. You should take this issue at heart. These people are insidious. They seem nice. You let your guard down, and by the time you realize you've fallen into the trap of a witch, it's much too late. Are you speaking from experience? I didn't have the patience to hear more of this, and I took an offended expression. Oh. I'm gonna say... I wasn't really religious, but that wasn't the point. Even if I had my doubts about the real existence of the gods, I knew the influence of the order and how powerful religion was in general. Unlike Alexander, I couldn't afford to openly proclaim my doubts or let anyone assume that I wasn't a good believer. Fortunately, I was very good at pretending to be offended. Do you believe my faith could be so easily shaken, High Priest? Taken aback, he immediately softened and apologized profusely. I relaxed in turn. I'm taking note of your worries, and I promise I'll be careful. But you must also understand that you simply cannot say such things about a foreign guest, especially not in public. Get his ass. This could have serious diplomatic consequences. He scowled once more but didn't say a word, politely bowing instead. That's what I fucking thought. Elegantly gathered him. I understand, Your Grace. A short silence passed between us before he turned away, mumbling something about prayers he had to make. For the first time of the night, I found myself alone, and no one came to talk to me, perhaps for fear of getting caught in the fallout from this tense conversation. I enjoyed that respite, and decided to go talk to Theodore, Alexander, Asha. Oh, we're gonna go talk to Asha. Duh. We're in the gardens and there's a gazebo. This is so cute and gay. I was very aware of how ironic it felt to meet up with Asha to continue our conversation, Robert's words buried in a deep, dark corner of my mind, as if they had never existed in the first place. Like she had mentioned, she was enjoying the fresh breeze in the gardens, and I had no trouble finding her. She was leaning against the balustrade of a gazebo. This music is so pretty. Hold on. I want to make sure the music can be heard. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Okay, we'll do the volume like right there. Okay. Casually, I came closer, and I leaned next to her, admiring the stars. I'm terribly sorry for that rude interruption. but one can't keep the gods waiting, as the saying goes. That little phrase was supposed to lighten the mood, but Asha gave me an indecipherable look that piqued my curiosity. Forgive me. I know your customs, but some of them are very hard for me to grasp. You mean the fact that we have different gods? To my great surprise, she shook her head, making her hair dance around her. No, we have so many gods. I wouldn't be surprised if yours existed in some way in our pantheon. It's rather the concept of priests that baffles me. Gods are all-powerful beings. Why would they lend their voice to fallible humans? She's so gorgeous. Oh my god. If they have anything to say to anyone, ours speak differently. Hold on. If they have anything to say to anyone, ours speak directly to the person in question, without the risky interference of a go-between. Clearly I wasn't expecting that line of thinking, and my mind, fogged up as it was by alcohol, didn't help me find convincing arguments. That irritated me quite a bit, as I always disliked not having the final word. She's so mean. Asha must have mistaken the nature of my contrariety, and she flashed me her most beautifully contrite smile. But I'm rambling. There are so many more interesting things to talk about, especially tonight. Like your magnificent coronation, or this delicious wine from the islands that you've been serving, for example. I usually wasn't one for small talk, but I couldn't get enough of her melodious accent, which emphasized her impeccable pronunciation. Almost by instinct, I swirled the contents of my wine glass, which I had been foolishly holding, untouched, since Marjorie had warned me. At least, this time it allowed me to get to know my interlocutor. You're right, it is good. It's of Icerian import, isn't it? She swirled the wine around in her own glass, her gesture practiced and skillful, before taking a little sip, her eyes closed. Yes, without a doubt. Black Castle, even. Odd. Half doubtful, half impressed, I didn't hide my surprise. You can tell where it's from, just like that? Yes. Before working for Queen Maeva, I was a trader in that field. In fact, my travels were the reason I discovered your culture and learnt your language. Once more, I looked at her, intrigued and impressed. She's so knowledgeable. She's so ambitious. You sail? Numerous superstitions made it so that women were unwelcome on board of ships in Calidia. Just imagining her on the seas was breathtaking. Oh no, I don't have any seafaring skills. I'm incapable of reading a map or using a sextant. I leave that to the captain. I only take care of the products, or rather, I used to only take care of the products. How impressive! You look as young as me, and yet you seem to have led a much more eventful life. My reply seemed to surprise her, and she tilted her head to the side, making the metal beads in her hair chime. This is so cute. I think you're a bit younger than I am, your grace. And besides, you're empress. The title made me smile almost despite myself, but it didn't entirely remove the melancholy from my voice. From today only. I could only guess the life that she had led, but I felt frustrated in comparison to have waited all these years in the shadows. All I had done was study and place the rare pawns at my disposal in the best way I could to prepare for my coronation. Without the stroke of luck that had ended my father's life prematurely, I could have waited much longer. The scholars always said he was as healthy as a horse. Oh my god. Solemnly, she held out her glass to invite me to toast and looked me in the eye. But you'll rule for a great many years to come, and I'm glad to be here in Calidia to witness it, Majesty. She seemed, oh my god! She seemed sincere, and somehow her words managed to lighten my heart, while our glasses clinked against one another. She was right. Holding on to the past was useless. I had to look to the future, now that I truly had the power to change it. This is like, we just hit first base, honestly. And I'm glad to have you by my side as well, Asha. I hope that the bonds between Iceria and Calidia will be strengthened thanks to your presence. I'll do my best, Your Grace. There was a short silence while we sized each other up and happily recognized in each other the same wit and the same strength of character. I love them. I adore them. I love them. Ah. Finally, she lifted the glass to her lips and drained it with a sensual sort of elegance. I set aside Marjorie's advice for a second and followed suit. This party was, after all, held in my honor, but I wanted to savor a good glass of wine in good company under the stars. Oh my god. Day 37. This is the next day. Alden, Your Grace, as you surely know, an essential task that comes with your role as a ruler is to listen to your subjects' petitions. They've accumulated since your father's death, and even before. He was never very fond of that duty. Now that you've been crowned, you'll need to dedicate them a fair share of your time. You'll need to dedicate them. Oh yeah, okay. It's especially important because the other advisors and myself have gotten used to lodging petitions on matters that require your attention, but do not fit into the council's agenda. Explain it to me. All of this is very new to me. I won't say no to further explanations. Petitions are matters that require your informed judgment, whether they pertain to trials, grant requests, or other various issues. The other advisors and myself are usually tasked with submitting them, but we may also pass on requests coming directly from your subjects. I divide them into two stacks, urgent affairs and current affairs. Of course, urgent affairs must be attended as soon as possible. I've added an exclamation mark to the stack for more clarity. As long as all urgent affairs haven't been dealt with, I won't give you any current affairs so as not to distract you with futile matters. As with everything that requires your input, petitions may necessitate the mobilization of certain resources, but don't forget that they can also offer opportunities. Good decisions can turn out to be quite lucrative. Finally, you must keep in mind that improving the living conditions of your people will ensure their affection for you and, in the long run, will contribute to the realm's prosperity. Is that clear? I think so. It all makes sense. Perfect. I suggest that you deal with one of mine first. If it's an issue that... Oh, it's an issue that has been on my mind for a while. He took a moment to rummage through the items on the table before handing me a sealed parchment roll. Here you go. Well then, I'll let you study that on your own and go about your business. Feel free to go through more of them so you can grow familiar with the process. You will be informed of their outcome in due time. I love the procedural aspect of this. Even if the crown is yours, I'd be wary of your bastard brothers. For some, an illegitimate son is far better than a woman, and I wouldn't want the nobility to use this excuse so they can rid of you the first chance they get. I've tasked the Master of Murmurs with investigating them. At the moment, it seems that most of them live a modest life as craftsmen or servants, but the simplest minds can be the easiest to sway. Especially since you haven't established any bond with them, which means that nothing will stop them from betraying you. I suggest dealing with the issue in a permanent way. Alden of Valblue. He wants me to kill them? Okay, hold on. Okay, so the first option is, you're right, it's best not to take any risks. Though I loathe these methods, I can't risk a civil war or a coup. I've given too much of myself to end up like that. Have them assassinated. That was the first option. My bad. I think I said second. That was the first option, and it costs 2 of the Orel coins or whatever. Points. Second option is, as long as they haven't done anything to me, I refuse to let paranoia get the best of me and have them assassinated. However, I do recognize that my half-brothers are a threat, and I believe we should definitely keep an eye on them. Assign spies to each of them, and we'll decide how to react if they start plotting against me. Okay, that costs 3 of the purple ones. I think which is the Horel ones. I'm leaning towards that one. And the final one is, I refuse to become a tyrant like my father and to let paranoia trap me in a spiral of violence. So I'll take the opposite approach. I'll make them happy, which should ensure that they don't have any desire to take my title from me or to cause me harm. Send someone to ask them what they want and do your best to satisfy their wishes, but make sure they're aware of my role as their patron. No, I don't know these people. We're gonna spy on them. Your Grace, all our spies are in place, and for the moment, they haven't noticed anything suspicious. Following the first report, I've decided to set up increased surveillance around Aaron Villi, who appears to be having a fling with the daughter of a local lord, and Yassine Le Cordonnier, as he is the Count of Virois. I don't know how to say that, whatever. I'll keep you updated on the situation's evolution. Master of Murmurs. I did not realize my mic was muted this whole time, so if you missed any of me talking, I was just talking through what I was gonna do for the politics, but you should have seen them, so I think we're okay there. I think we are okay there. And I can hear myself speaking for some reason. Wait, can I still hear? Yes. Test, test. Okay, my input and output devices are fine. Let me check. Okay, test, test, test. Testing, testing. Yeah, I can still hear it. Let me go to my sound settings again. All sound devices, no. Should be more sound settings, yeah. Feature properties, advanced levels, properties, change settings. No, I don't want to change anything in there. There's like maybe it's in recording. There's something. Listen. Listen to this device. Listen. Okay, no, I don't want that. Listen to this device. Okay, I fixed it. Okay. I will have to edit all of that out. And you know what? Let me take this time to pack myself a bowl to grind more weed. Let me grind a little bit more. Yes. Okay, perfect. Life is so good. Life is so good right now. All right. Let's get back into this. There is going to be a little bit of gameplay that I think will have my PNG tuber moving, but I didn't have my actual mic unmuted. So I was talking through Discord, but you couldn't even hear it because my mic was muted. But yeah, I had to step away to help clean some collard greens for the greens that my dad is going to make for Turkey Day dinner and all that. So I had to step away, and then I come back and I'm continuing the gameplay and the recording, and I realized that my mic isn't muted, or my mic is muted, and so it didn't capture anything I had just said. And then I was having audio issues, so I'm gonna have to pay attention to the editing for this video. But I just used, I had like a couple of turns. I had 2 turns, and I chose to do politics, and there's politics, and then this is a petition. That's what it's called. We're doing the second petition. And for politics, I changed the diplomacy from, it was like civil or something like that, to the max. Basically like the medium, like from the medium option to the higher option. So we'll see how that pays off. And this is my second turn. We're gonna look at this petition. So I was reading it and then realized my mic was muted. It says, "Your Grace, as you know, tradition requires that every emperor have an immense mausoleum built in their memory, with a gigantic statue in their likeness adorning their tomb. Your father's body is currently in a coffin within Astrarok's great temple, so that pilgrims may come to pray over him, but it is high time to build him a tomb befitting of his glory. High Priest Robert." Okay. So the first option costs a lot of the green coins, and it costs 3 of the green coins, which is related to goods, and then 2 of the brown coins, which is our money. So the first one says, "Even if I didn't hold my father close to my heart, I wouldn't want to oppose tradition. Order the construction of a magnificent mausoleum in his honor, although I won't be overseeing it." Okay, that's not a bad option. The second one is, it only costs 1 green coin and 1 brown coin. It says, "Like every emperor, he'll have his mausoleum, but I'd rather spend our resources on the living than the dead. Make sure that his tomb is decent, but without any unnecessary embellishments." And the free one says, "My father never did anything to deserve that such a building be erected for him during his lifetime, and that won't change after his death. Find him a spot in the temple's crypt in the palace. That should be more than enough." Oh my god. I'm not sure that I care about keeping to tradition. But I think I would definitely prefer to save money. Yeah. Even if the emperor was, okay, +5 nobility, +2 religion, period. Okay. Even if the emperor was not very much liked, it was the right thing to do. Tradition cannot be ignored, and the people's fervor towards the royal family has been strengthened. True, the mausoleum is not particularly striking, but no one has a bad word to say about it either. High Priest Robert. Oh, thank God. Okay. Spring, day 39, morning. I was truly glad to be Empress now, but, as I had expected, I hadn't had a single moment to myself since my coronation. There was an endless and continuous stream of people paying their respects to me, and of more or less futile issues to solve. Even if I was happy to finally be able to exercise my power legitimately, I also felt that I needed a break. Thus, after taking care of the most urgent matters, I had decided to take a moment to relax in my bedroom, the gardens, or the library. Let's go to my bedroom. Oh, you'll talk with Alexander. The gardens, you'll talk with Asha. The library, you'll talk with Theodore. Okay, the gardens then. I do want to see if I'm able to change my crown at all. Let's see, at night I don't need one. Casual. Oh, I only have one. Okay. And I'm guessing it's going to be the same for formal? Yeah. Okay, that's fine. It's cute. I just wanted to see if I had other options. Alright. Taking a breath of fresh air seemed like the best way to replenish my reserves of energy, especially since the weather was lovely. I am going to turn the music down just a smidge. Okay. I aimlessly walked along the garden trails, filling my lungs with clean air, when I saw Asha sitting on a bench, her eyes closed, her head thrown back. She looked so peaceful that I wondered if she was sleeping, and I approached her as stealthily as I could, trying not to wake her up. My spying talents must have been rather unimpressive since she had heard me and opened her eyes to look at me. With a smile, she politely bowed her head. Good day, Your Majesty. Are you here to take a sun bath as well? She unceremoniously motioned to the bench, inviting me to join her. This is her casual wear. She looks gorgeous. Maybe she only has one outfit, though. Although I was surprised by such familiarity, I was still tempted, and I sat down on the smooth wood, comfortably warmed up by the sun. We looked so good together. It would be a crime to have such a beautiful garden and not to want to take advantage of it. I can only approve. This is my favorite spot in the palace, alongside the library. I softly smiled at her, letting a lazy silence settle between us until I felt the need to start a conversation. So, tell me, do you enjoy Calidia? It's a beautiful place, but as beautiful as it may be, it only reminds me how much more beautiful my island is. I had never been to Iceria, but I had heard the most wondrous descriptions of it. I could understand her homesickness, but at the same time, I felt a touch of chauvinism stir within me. This isn't a contest, Asha. I had said that in a joking manner to hide my scowl, but she didn't budge, showcasing once more her talent for subtle backtalk. That's good, because you would lose. Oh, this would have annoyed me from most people, but her pert little expression simply made me want to play along, and I replied just as mischievously. If you're feeling so homesick, I can always send you back. And deprive you of the only person with a sense of humor in your court. I highly doubt that, Your Grace. Especially since this place is in dire need of feminine presence. The ratio would crash were you to send me away. Her remark made me laugh, briefly but openly. If what they say about Iceria is true, I suppose it must be strange for you to see so many men holding power. Oh yes, and it just comforts me in the certainty that we've done the right call letting women rule. If only the rest of my people could hear what you're saying. You think your gender might stand in the way of your rule? Obviously. Don't forget I'm only here because my brother is dead and my father never remarried. I've been crowned, but I know many people still doubt my abilities and my legitimacy. And yet, do you feel up to the task? I definitely am up to it. There wasn't a hint of doubt in my voice. My entire life had been built around this rule that was now mine. Asha seemed deep in thought. Have you been preparing yourself? To the best of my abilities, yes. I've read books, many books, on many different subjects. I've listened to my elders' advice, too. But, well, there isn't exactly a course organized by the scholars for all this. There isn't one, really. Where I'm from, potential future queens receive a very strict education from an early age, which is destined to make them the best possible rulers. Everything is planned for. And even if you follow that curriculum, in order to be crowned, you'd still need to undergo a whole battery of tests supervised by the matriarchs. A queen can only be appointed once she's proved her discernment and her value. Impressed with a system that was completely strange to me, I took in the information with curiosity. And do you think that's effective? Nothing's ever perfect, but we haven't had a single tyrant since the system has been set up. I'd only say it fosters a certain inertia. Our queens are the protectors of our people. To fulfill that duty, They abandon their names, dedicate themselves to their task, and follow that long training which shapes them. That preserves us from the ambition of a single person who could decide to satisfy their thirst for power at the expense of others. But when you look closely, none of the 12 queens of the kingdom particularly stand out. Her analysis seemed thorough, and far from the simple chauvinistic admiration that I had initially suspected of animating her. That prompted me to take some time as well, and ponder before answering. I see. It's true that reigns on the continent are often eventful. But I do think that, sometimes, a strong-headed leader with a distinct personality is what's best to guide a nation in a time of crisis. As I've told you, Your Grace, nothing is ever perfect. And I wasn't trying in the slightest to cast doubt on your reign to come, if that's what you were thinking. If I was wary of you, I wouldn't have told you all those things. Thank you for your trust. Ever since my coronation's taken place, I haven't had a minute to step back and take everything in. Perhaps I'm too defensive. The weight of the responsibilities that come with your title would break many people's backs, believe me. But you can't neglect yourself either, Your Grace. A tree worn down by the tantrums of nature isn't robust enough to bear its fruits. And even on that count, I think I see you as ahead of you. If you want to wind down one day, I'll show you one of those massages we're famed for. Oh! A malicious spark flickered in her eye, and coupled with the slight husky tone of her voice, it made me blush. Eager to hide my embarrassment, I took refuge in humor. If you weren't a woman, I'd have sworn that you're propositioning me. Oh, I was definitely flirting with you, Your Grace. Oh. Her frankness took me aback, and I found myself stunned, silent. Nobles were fond of these kinds of false seduction games, but I had never seen it take place between two women. And that made me want to play along. Hell yeah. Asha will continue to flirt with you even if you don't romance her. Asha won't flirt with you outside of romance scenes anymore. I actually am... I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of the fact that you can say yes or no to the flirting, unless you're romantic. I appreciate that. I think that is a very nice option. I want Asha to flirt with me, personally. I really do. And I'm pretty sure I'm gonna romance her. You would dare to try and corrupt my pure and innocent soul? My voice was clearly exaggerated and provocative, which seemed to amuse her. Your soul may well be pure, but innocent. I doubt it. You're far too cunning for that. She winked at me. In any case, you know where to find me if you decide to take me up on my massage offer. Believe me, once you try it, you won't be able to live without it. Oh! It might be best if I never try it out, then. It would be most unfortunate if I fell into the hands of a foreign power. She burst into laughter when she saw the falsely worried face I'd put on, and I joined her, alternating between open fits and small giggles until my stomach hurt. She was the first to calm down. Her face turned serious, and she cleared her throat. I shouldn't bother you any longer. I'm afraid my little nap has dragged on rather longer than I'd planned, but it was a pleasure talking to you, Your Grace. All the pleasure's mine, Asha. Beautiful. Okay. I'm gonna look at a petition. Your Grace, I have discovered that someone has placed pagan talismans in the palace. One was even found in your living quarters. I do not think that these amulets hold any sort of power, but the intentions are quite real. I cannot bear the thought that someone wishes to curse you. With the Master of Murmur's help, we have identified the servant behind these talismans. We have, however, stayed discreet. We will await your orders before we take action. This could give us an opportunity to learn more about the situation. General Alexander. The first option is free, and it says, I don't want unnecessary bloodshed. Find an excuse to fire her and tell her that she shouldn't come near me in the future if she doesn't want the order to find out about her little secret. The second option costs 1 purple coin, which is related to diplomacy. You're right. We can't let this opportunity to gather information pass us by. Keep a discreet eye on her. She might lead us to other pagans, and we might learn more about their intentions towards me. So again, I am doing the story mode, which essentially allows for unlimited resource management or unlimited resources. So you don't have to pay attention to the amount of resources that you have. I think when the full game is released, I would love to try the resource management out though. And then the final option is also free. It says, arrest her and interrogate her in the dungeon on her intentions and her practices. I'm going to do the second one. We are actively keeping an eye on Miranda, but for the time being, we have not learned anything. Apart from a few ridiculous and harmless rituals, her life is just as mundane as it is boring, and she does not seem to be meeting with other pagans or actively working to bring about your downfall. Master of Murmurs. Okay, I got +1 religion from that. We'll do another petition, and then I think we'll go into the politics. Your Grace, the scholars would like to expand the Academy of Astarock in order to welcome more aspirants. Their numbers grow every year, and besides, the Dean would like to extend the duration of some training courses, as our knowledge in some fields has deepened and become more detailed over time. The scholars have raised the required funds thanks to several generous donors, but since the Academy is located in the very middle of the capital, its expansion requires raising some of the shops and lodgings that have been built around it. The people are not thrilled at the idea. With or without your help, the Academy will prosper, but it is always good to foster one's friendships. High Priest Robert. Okay, let's see our options for this one. The first option costs 1 brown orange coin, which is related to our funds, our money. Displacing a few stalls and lodgings is a small price to pay to expand our academy, and thereby increase the splendor of our influence throughout the world. I'll enact a decree to authorize this expansion, and I'll make sure that the people are decently rehomed. Okay, interesting. That's not a horrible option. The second one costs 5 orange brown coins, so this one's pretty costly, but we have 992. So again, that's why I'm not super concerned with my resource management for this run. But yeah, I understand the importance of offering a quality education to our scholars and future scholars, but that cannot be done at the expense of the people's comfort. We will build another academy away from the center so that it has all the room it needs to grow in the future. The Crown will fund the additional costs generated by such a construction. Okay, I don't think that's a bad option, and everybody wins. And then there's a free option. The safety of my people is my priority. The Academy has always fared well under its current mode of operation. It'll have to find other solutions to adapt its education. Dig basements, open up annexes. When there's a will, there's a way. I think that option would severely decrease my relationship with the Academy and probably High Priest Robert. So I'm going to do the second one where we build another academy away from the center. The scholars are creatures of habit, and the idea made them gnash their teeth at first, but they quickly saw all the advantages of erecting a new structure and are now impatient to see their new building come to life. Since we're starting from scratch, the process will take longer, but I am sure that the result will exceed our expectations and that the new academy will be even more renowned than the previous one. High Priest Robert. So, religion went up a good amount, and people went up a lot. Okay, politics. Let's see. I think I'm okay with this so far. So I think we'll do another petition. Okay, so we're doing another petition. Your Grace, this won't be an easy task, but I'd like to suggest a modification of the current inheritance law in use since Magnus I. The goal would be to simplify it and avoid potential bloodbaths in the absence of a male heir. Taking inspiration from the rather vague rules of the First Kingdom of Terranfell, which had allowed Melisandre to become queen, I suggest changing the law so that the firstborn of the family becomes the heir, regardless of their gender. There's no doubt that such a big change might not please everyone, but I do think that in the long run, this would only benefit Calidia. Alden of Valblue. Okay, Alden is suggesting it. Okay, let's see. So these are all free options. Interesting. Okay, so the first one is, I'm here to embody change even if they don't like it. This new law will be promulgated and we will have to be uncompromising in its application so it takes root. Okay. The second option is, such a change would be beneficial, but it will be hard to overturn the customs of the entire nation. Amend the law, but bake into it the possibility for a family head to designate in their will another heir amongst their children, if they believe the eldest isn't fit to govern. That will allow the most stubborn among them to circumvent the rule, but will solve the issue if a situation similar to mine arises. Okay. The final one is, I think the change would be beneficial, but it's probably too brutal and could create more conflicts than it resolves. Let's leave the law as it is, but clarify it. Let's just add an amendment specifying that in the absence of a first-degree male heir, or a will indicating otherwise, a female heir will be preferred if there is one. I feel like, so I don't want to do the first one. I think I need to be mindful of the traditional people, because I do want to embody change, but I also need to be mindful of pissing people off, pissing certain people off. I think I'm leaning towards the second one. -10 nobility. Well, a few nobles gnashed their teeth when they saw these changes, but since they're still able to elect their sons, they only bared their fangs on principle. Overall, I believe the law has been well received. Many people have recognized that, indeed, it'll help avoid useless and bloody succession wars. Alden, thank you. I eat that, honestly. Spring day 52, afternoon. The days passed by in a blur, all similar to each other. New petitions to manage, new events to participate in, influential people to flatter. I had never had any illusions. I'd always known that my life as an empress would be mainly paced by paperwork. I had never had any illusions. I had always known that my life as an empress would be mainly paced by paperwork and diplomatic discussions, but sometimes it got a bit much. I knew the decisions I was making could change lives and minds, but I hoped that under my rule my kingdom would prosper. But I couldn't see the results of my hard work after a mere few weeks. I had to settle for little victories, and sometimes I caught myself hoping for something, anything to disrupt my day. Unfortunately, nothing seemed to be on the cards. Master of Murmurs, Your Grace, would you have a few moments to spare me? Startled out of my daydreaming, I looked at the unfinished letter in front of me and pushed it aside to give my full attention to the Master of Murmurs, who removed his hood after closing the door. Of course, I'm all ears. Today, a wandering caravan coming from Vargas was attacked by bandits while they were crossing the Elm Bridge. The merchandise was stolen, the guards were killed, and the people in the caravan are now being held hostage to be ransomed. Today, I already read that. By the 4, that's awful. I was now used to be the one who must find solutions, and I immediately started going through them in my mind. That bridge is a strategic location. It should have been better protected. We'll send men over there, and I'll ask Marjorie to send hers as well. Her men are closer by. They should be able to secure the area and limit the disruptions to that heavily trafficked commercial road. And put a bounty on these bandits. We have to find the hostages and deal with their captors as decisively as possible. Patiently, he let me finish, but as I saw his expression, I realized there was more to it, and I frowned. Is there something in particular that I should know about this caravan, Master of Murmurs? Softly, he nodded. Amongst the captured people is one of my agents, a master of spying and infiltration. He had been in Vargas for a few months to keep an eye on a family of nobles, and he was urgently coming back with some vital information. Does it have to do with my father's assassination? Do you think Vargas is guilty of it? No. At first glance, there's no connection. Your father's assassination is still under investigation, even if I have to admit that at the moment, we're somewhat stalled. Then what is this about? That's precisely the issue. I don't know. Apparently, it was crucial information. My agent has always been excessively prudent. He feared that his mail might be intercepted, and therefore, he was reluctant to send me written information, even if our messages are always coded. So, you're telling me that one of our spies who infiltrated Vargas has been captured not far from the border while he was coming back with information of the utmost importance, and that you have no clue what that is? Finally, now that the 4 had decided to grant my wish of a little more excitement, I started regretting wishing for it in the first place. The situation didn't bode well. That's correct. Like you, I do find this coincidence suspicious, but we can't be sure of anything. If they just wanted to cover their tracks, they could have simply killed him right there and then, as well as the guards. Maybe they just got rid of the body? We can't exclude that possibility, but we've received a demand of ransom addressed to his family, like the other 4 hostages. I don't know. Well, in any case, we have to clear up the situation quickly. Do we have other agents stationed in Vargas who could try to learn what our spy knows? A few, yes, but I'm afraid that they won't be discreet enough if they were to approach the same people. The decision is yours to make. Oh, I'm nervous. Okay. There are only 2 options. The first one is, I know it's dangerous, but we still have to try. And the second one is, it's far too dangerous, we'd better play it safe. The agents should stay at their current posts. I'm gonna say it's far too dangerous. I think it would be the safer choice indeed, Your Grace, even if I'm dying to find out what it's all about. What shall we do with the bandits? I took the time to think and weigh my options before making a decision. Do we have any information whatsoever on these bandits? If they are who they pretend to be, they've been active all over the territory and always follow this pattern, but we know little about them. For the time being, we have no idea of their whereabouts or who their leader is. Are they trustworthy? I mean, once the ransoms have been paid, will they truly release the hostages? So far, yes, they've kept their word. Okay. 3 options this time. The first option costs 3 orange-brown coins related to our money. For the time being, we have no proof that this was a setup. We have to believe at the very least that our agent is alive. If they're known for keeping their promises, the best course of action is to pay the ransom without further discussions. The second one costs quite a bit more. 2 purple coins related to diplomacy, and 3 gray coins related to military and army. We can't continue letting these bandits live on our lands. Even if they're known for being trustworthy, I absolutely do not trust them, and I don't want to pay ransoms all over the place. Pretend to pay the ransom, but trap them. At least we'll have fewer bandits on our hands, if our agent is already dead. And then the final one is free. It says, I believe that this situation is far too uncertain to engage resources. If it's a trap, we'll lose more lives, and I refuse to finance these bandits any further. Even though it'll cost me, the only thing we can do is have faith in this agent and in his abilities. If he's as talented as you claim, he should be able to give this slip to a handful of bandits. I mean, they continue to do this kind of thing because their ransoms have been paid. So, I would guess that I'm sure they're always wary, but I don't know what they have planned in case there's a setup. I think I'm gonna go risky, and we're gonna trap them. Very well, Majesty. I'll go talk to Alexander and prepare an ambush. We'll keep you appraised of the situation's evolution. Day 59, afternoon. I'm scared. No! Your Grace, even though it had been carefully planned, I regret to inform you that our ambush was a failure. The bandits were well prepared, and when they spotted us, they started killing the hostages and running away. Fortunately, your agent is very resourceful, and he managed to escape. I'm bringing him back to the castle right as I'm writing this report. One of the bandits is dead, but the rest of the group managed to flee. I desperately want to make them pay for their actions and pursue them, but the agent claims that his information is urgent and vital. You must absolutely meet him as soon as possible, Your Grace. Alexander. Damn. That was risky. Unable to sleep, I got up to take in a bit of fresh air at the window. As much as I told myself there was no point in speculating before I got the spy's report, I couldn't stop the foreboding I felt. And I was about to be proved right. That was the demo! Oh, I really enjoyed that, actually. That was so fun! That was really, really fun. Fade to black for suggestive content. Oh, that never even happened. So there wasn't any suggestive content yet. I am very excited for what that suggestive content will look like in the full game. And that was Imperial Grace. I hope y'all really enjoyed the game just as much as I did. Again, I thought it was a beautiful story. I loved the characters. I think that there was a good breadth of character variation, character personalities, and tropes and things like that. And I'm really excited to see what the full game looks like, and I can't wait to try it with the finite resource management. I think that will add a little more realism, I guess, to the to the gameplay. And I am really excited to continue to pursue my romance with Miss Asha, who is the most beautiful woman. I again hope you really liked this video. If you did enjoy, the game itself, I will leave a link below for the Steam page. Please, please, please make sure you go wishlist that. I harped on this before the gameplay, but it is so crucial to wishlist these games and show people that there is some interest so that the word gets out more. And it's such a simple way to support these indie game developers, and it's just a few clicks. So I will leave that link down below in the description box. Don't forget to leave this video a like, leave me a comment as well. Let me know if you're thinking of getting this game. Let me know what your favorite part was about this game, whether it was the art direction, the plot, certain parts of the gameplay, etc. Let me know. I love to see what other people think, because you know, I don't have the same brain, clearly. I want to know what other people think when they look for certain things in games. Hit the subscribe button, hit that button, also hit the bell notification button so you can get notified whenever I post a new video. And I think that's all I got for y'all. I will hopefully post more videos soon, and for the Choose Wisely festival, and also some other gaming related stuff. And so with that, I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye everyone.